Hello all, welcome to AWS tutorials. My name is Kastro Kiran. In the previous video, we have seen what is meant by an instance type, what are the different types of instance families that we have. In this video, we are going to see about how to work with the EC2 service in a practical case scenario. In this video, we are going to focus on how to launch a Linux-based EC2 instance, and I'll also be showing about how to connect to the EC2 instance connect by using an option which is known as MobiXterm software. Once we connect to the EC2 instance, we'll be installing a simple Apache server by using a set of commands, and then we'll be creating an HTML page, and we will be allowing the traffic in order to access that HTML page. These are the things that we are going to see in this particular session. Firstly, let us understand what are the different steps that are involved in order to create an EC2 instance. The very first step which involves is navigating to the EC2 service. So first we will go to the EC2 service, and then we are going to select an option called launch instance. Once after clicking on launch instance, we will be asked to give the name to the instance. Giving a name to the instance is purely an optional factor, but it is recommended in the real-time scenarios to maintain the names to the EC2 instances. Once after we give the name to the EC2 instance, then we are going to next step where we are going to select the AMI for the instance. What does it mean by AMI is known as Amazon Machine Image, where we are going to select the operating system. Suppose, let's say in this video, we are going to select the operating system as Linux. Like this, we also have other types of operating systems such as Ubuntu, Mac, Windows, Red Hat, Debian. Like this, we are working with different types of operating systems. But mostly in the real-time scenarios, we will be working either with Linux-based EC2 instances or Ubuntu-based EC2 instances. So we will be selecting the AMI for our instance, that is operating system for our instance. And then we are going to select the instance type. If you remember, in the previous session, we have talked about the different types of instances. Among the different types of instances, we are going to choose an instance type which is having a free tier eligible tag. So we talked about that one in the previous video. I would recommend you to watch that video if you haven't watched, in order to get a detailed understanding about what are the different types of instances that we have. Once after selecting the instance type, we are going to create a key pair. This key pair is something which will act as a key in order to connect to the instance. So the key pair can be created in two different formats. One is called as .pem file, and the second one is .ppk file. I'll be showing you how to create a key pair. There we will discuss in detail about what is the difference between .pem file and a .ppk file. But in this demo, I am going to create a .pem file because we are going to connect to the instance using MobiXterm software. So for that reason, I am going to create a .pem file key pair. Once after creating the key pair, we need to configure the network settings. Network settings is nothing but the internet connectivity that we want to provide to our EC2 instance. By default, there will be a VPC network. So the default VPC network I'm going to use in order to provide internet connectivity to our instance. In the later parts of the sessions, we are going to see in detail about the VPC service. There I'll be showing you how to create a custom VPC and how to work with custom VPC. But as far as EC2 service is concerned, I am going to go with the default VPC network, which is provided by AWS itself. So we are going to use the default VPC that is provided by AWS. Once after we select the network settings, then we are going to configure the storage capacity for our instance. By default, we are going to get 8 GB of storage capacity. That's called as EBS volumes, elastic block storage. Again, as a part of this EC2 service, we are going to talk about EBS service or EBS concept in a large scale, where we are going to understand how to create an EBS volume, how to work with root volumes. We'll be talking about all of those things in the further sessions. But currently, we are going to configure the storage capacity for our EC2 instance. Once we configure the storage capacity, then we need to decide how many instances we want based upon the configurations, whatever we have selected in the first 6 steps. So based on that, we are going to give the number of instances that we want to launch in order to work with the instances. And finally, once after the instance is launched, we are going to connect to the instance. So these are the different steps that are available in order to launch an EC2 instance. So once after launching the EC2 instance, I'll be showing you how to connect to the EC2 instance. Then we are going to install a simple Apache server, and then we will create an index.html file where we can access the data that we are going to keep inside the instance. So let us go to the AWS console, and then we will be working with the launching of EC2 instance. But one thing that we have to remember here is EC2 is a region specific service. It's not a global service, it's a region specific service. So what does it mean by region specific service? It means if you are creating a resources, let's say in Mumbai region, you have to access that resource only in Mumbai region. You cannot access the resource that you have created in Mumbai region by going into North Virginia region. So make sure of that. EC2 is a region specific service. So let us go to the AWS console and let us work with all of these steps, including connecting to the instance and installing a simple Apache server page as well. Currently, if you see, I am there in the EC2 console or EC2 service. So how will you go to the EC2 service? In the search box, you can see, you just type EC2 and where you are going to create the virtual servers in the cloud. Those are called as EC2 instances. So just click on this and you will be navigated to this particular page or to this particular console. So here, before launching the EC2 instance, let me show you what are the different options that are available in the EC2 homepage. In the left pane, you can see there is an EC2 dashboard. Currently, that is where we are actually available. And then there is an EC2 global view, events, instances, instance types, launch templates, spot request. And then we'll be working with AMIs, that is images, volumes, snapshot, lifecycle management. All of these ones we'll be exploring one by one as we proceed into the further classes of the EC2 service. So currently, don't bother about all of these ones. I'll be telling you each one of these things in a detailed way with every video that we are going to come up in the upcoming sessions. Right. So currently, you can see I'm there in the EC2 dashboard. In the EC2 dashboard, you can see there are different options that are showing down, such as instances, that is in the running state, and then dedicated host, instances, load balancers, if you have any. So it is showing me the number of resources that are available based upon the things. So you can see I have one key pair, which I have already created for other purposes. So we will create a new key pair also, and security groups also we have. So I'll be showing you what is the use of the security groups in some time. So, but before that, there is one difference that you have to understand here. You can see on the top instances in the brackets, it is running. And here you can see instances. So what is the difference between instances running and instances? Instances running indicates that how many instances are available in the region called Sydney. If you see here on the top right side, I am currently there in the Sydney region. So in the Sydney region, how many instances are currently available in the running state? Okay, when they are running, then here the number will get displayed. So currently there are no instances that are in the running state. That is why it is showing 0. Now, what does this mean? This means this instances means if there are any instances, whether they are in the running state or whether they are in the stopped state, it will show the total number of instances that are available. Doesn't matter whether they are in the running state or not. Here in the instances, it will show the total number of instances that are available. But whereas here, instances running, it will only show the number of instances that are currently in the running state. That's the difference between instances running and instances. So let me click on instances running, and here you will be able to see an option which is known as launch instances. Can you see an option called launch instances here? And you can also see the same option here as well. So you can click on any one of these options in order to navigate to the launching of an EC2 instance. So let me click on launch instances here. And now it will be asking the 7 steps that I have showed you. So what is the first step? The first step is we want to give name to the EC2 instance. And if you want to tag the EC2 instance, you can tag by clicking on add additional tags. That is completely an optional thing. But name is also optional, but it is always recommended in order to work with the EC2 instances in the real-time scenarios. So let me give the name to the EC2 instance, that is as Kastro-demo. So I'm just giving some name to the instance. You can give any name to the EC2 instance. So Kastro-demo, I have given the name, and the tags are completely optional. If you want to add the tags, you can click on add additional tags, and you can click on add new tag. You have to give key and you have to give the value for the tag. So key value page we'll call. So currently we don't have to bother about these tags. So let it be as it is, no problem with that. And then the next step is application and OS images, that is called as Amazon machine image. So we have to select the AMI for our EC2 instance. So which type of EC2 instance we want to launch? We want to launch a Linux based EC2 instance. So the instance that I'm going to launch should have an operating system of Linux-based operating system. Likewise, you can select Mac, you can select Ubuntu, you can select Windows, you can select Red Hat. Based upon our requirement, we can select whatever the instance AMI that we want. So currently, I'm just going with the Linux-based instances. So let me select Amazon Linux. Once you click on Amazon Linux, the Amazon Linux AMI will get selected. Once after selecting the Amazon Linux, then we have to select the AMI type. So in Amazon Linux, again, we have different versions of AMI. You can see here, just click on this drop down here, you will be able to see the different versions of AMIs. But which AMI you want to select is, make sure to select the AMI which is having a tag called free tier eligible. Can you see the tag here? Free tier eligible tag is available. But if you select any instances which are not having, currently, if you see this one, Amazon Linux 2 LTS, this is not having a tag called free tier eligible. So when you launch this kind of instance, what will happen is the bill will get generated. Make sure of it. So we have already talked about billing aspects of the EC2 instances. How many free arts we are going to get, that we have discussed very clearly. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, please go and watch the previous video in order to know how many free arts you are going to get for the EC2 instances per month, right? So here, make sure to select the AMI which are having a free tier eligible tag. So since Amazon Linux 2023 AMI is the recently launched one, it might not be having all kinds of configurations. So what I'll do is I'll be selecting the next latest version, which is having a free tier eligible tag. So I'm going to select Amazon Linux 2 AMI. In the brackets, you can see HVM. So I'm just selecting the AMI. Once after selecting the AMI, the next thing that we have to do is we have to select the instance type. Okay, we have to select the instance type. But before that, for every AMI that we are selecting, we will have an AMI ID. Okay, for every AMI that we are selecting, we will have an AMI ID and we will have an architecture also. So here we will have two types of architecture. One is called as ARM processor and the second one is called as x86 processor. These are the processors. Okay, ARM processor and x86 processor. So you can select any one of these two, but usually we'll go with x86 only, which is the default one. But if you want, we can also select the ARM processor. That doesn't make much of the difference to our EC2 instance anyway. So I'm just selecting the 64-bit architecture, which is having x86 processor. And then the instance type. So we have discussed about the different types of instances that we have. So just select the instance type as a T2.micro. So why we are selecting T2.micro? Because this is the instance that is having the free tier eligible tag. If you want to select any other types of instances, you can click on the drop down and you can see the different types of instances that are there and the configurations of all the different types of instances as well. But remember, whenever you are selecting an instance type which is not having a free tier eligible tag, make sure the billing will get generated. So please be aware that the billing gets generated when you are selecting the instance type which is not having a free tier eligible tag. So to avoid the billing for my instances, what I'm doing is I'm selecting T2.micro, which is having a tag called free tier eligible. So select that instance, and then we want to connect to the instance or we want to log into the instance. So in order to log into the instance, it is mandatory to create a key pair. Okay, it is mandatory to create a key pair. So in order to create a key pair, you can see an option here, create new key pair. If you already have any kinds of key pairs, you can click on this drop down and you will be seeing the existing key pairs that are available. Currently, I have already created one key pair with the name called Sydney KP, Sydney key pair. So, however, I'm not going to select this one. I'll be showing you how to create a new key pair. Okay, so just click on create new key pair and it will ask you to enter the key pair name. So just give the key pair name as Kastro-demo key pair. So just give any kind of name to the key pair. It's not mandatory. You should give only this name. Whatever name that you want, we can give that. And key pair type, we usually select the RSA type, not the ED type. And private key file format, we have two formats, as I was mentioning earlier. One is called as a .pem file, and the second one is called as a .ppk file. When you are selecting or when you are creating a .pem file, we are going to connect to the instance using a software which is known as MOBA Extern. I'll be showing you that software in some time. But when you are creating a .ppk software, we will be using a software which is known as Putty and Puttygen. These two softwares we are going to use. But I would always recommend to go with .pem file because that is more convenient and it is also more user friendly. So I'm going to select the .pem file and then click on create key pair. Once you click on create key pair, a .pem file will automatically gets downloaded. Can you see the Kastro-demo.pem file? That file has already got downloaded. So I'll be talking about this key pair file once after we launch the instance. So let it be there, but make sure that don't delete this key pair until or unless you don't want to work with the instance. Whenever you want to connect to the instance, you need to have this key pair. So without this having the key pair, it's not possible to connect to the instance. It is possible, but for time being, since we are at the beginning stage of understanding EC2 service, assume that if you have lost this key pair, there is no way of connecting to the instance. Okay, in the further sessions, I'll show you how to recover the key pair if you have deleted or if you have accidentally deleted also. That we will see in the upcoming sessions. Right. And then I have created the key pair. You can see the key pair that already got selected. And then the network settings where we are going to configure the internet connectivity to our instance. So currently by default, there will be a network which is called as a VPC network. So the default network I'm going to select. I'm not going to change any of these ones. So let it be the in the network settings. I'm not going to change anything. And subnet also, I'm not going to change. I'll give the AWS a free hand that to select any availability zone. Okay, that to select any availability zone. And then these options are let it be as it is. Security groups we will talk in some time. But currently, let me create a new security group. Assume that if you don't have any existing security groups, then you have to create a new security group. And then automatically you can see what will be the name of a new security group. So you can read it here. We will create a new security group called Launch Wizard 2. This will be the default name. Okay, with the following rules. So it is currently allowing only one traffic that's called as SSH traffic. Okay, this SSH traffic is used to connect to the EC2 instance. That we will see in some time. So by default, this should be checked. That is, allow SSH traffic should be checked because whenever you want to connect to the EC2 instance, the SSH traffic should be available for the EC2 instance. But if you have any existing security groups, you can select this option and then you can click on this drop down. You can select the existing security groups, whatever you want. So currently, I'm not going to go with existing security groups. So let me create a new security group. And for that security group, a security group name will be allotted as launch-wizard-2. And I'm allowing SSH traffic. And the last step is configuring the storage. As I was mentioning, a default storage capacity of 8 GB storage capacity you're going to get. But you can increase this 8 GB storage capacity up to 30 GB. Since we are working with the free tier customers, we can increase that capacity up to 30 GB. But beyond 30 GB, if you increase, let's say instead of 8 GB, I'm giving 35 GB. What will happen is the bill will get generated. Okay, for the extra 5 GB capacity, the bill will get generated. So to avoid billing, make sure to select the storage of the EC2 instance less than 30 GB only. 30 GB is also fine, but keep it less than 30 GB, which is always recommended. So I'm going to go with the default one, which is 8 GB. If you want to change, you can change to any number less than 30 GB. That doesn't make any difference to our instance. I mean, it will not generate any kind of bill for that. And then advanced details are there. If you click on that, there are multiple options where we are going to explore in the upcoming sessions, like attaching an IAM role and then shutdown behavior. All these things we'll explore one by one as we progress further. So I'm not going to change anything in the advanced details. And then you can see the last step, which is the number of instances. So how many instances I want to launch? I want to launch only one instance. If you want to launch 2 instances, yes, you can just give the number as 2. And then immediately with all the configurations, whatever we have selected here, with the same configurations, 2 instances will get launched. That's the number of instances. So currently I want only one instance. So let me give the number of instances as 1. And then you can select, you can see what are the details that you have selected. You can see summary, the AMI that you have selected, and the instance type, the security group, the storage volume, how much storage volume we have configured, all these things we are getting. And you can also see the, the warning message or a kind of information message. It includes only 750 arts, okay, per month. So this is what we have discussed in the previous sessions also about the free tier capacity of EC2 service. And then finally click on launch instance. Once you click on launch instance, you can see the instance states are getting launched, or the instance step-by-step process of instance is getting created. Once after this 100% gets finished, you can see the instance is successfully launched. Okay, right. And now this is called as instance ID. Whatever that you are seeing, I hyphen, whatever number that you see, that's called as instance ID. I represents instance, and the remaining characters that you see, they are called as IDs, instance IDs. Now, if you want to go to that specific instance, you can scroll down to the bottom of the page and you can see view all instances. So just click on view all instances and you will be able to see the instance that we have just created. And for every instance, as I was telling, an instance ID will be there. This is an unique ID. Okay. And then you can see the instance state. What is the current state of the instance? It is in the running state. What type of instance we have selected? T2.micro. Status check, it is getting initialized. So it will take 2 to 3 minutes of time to get the status check as a 2x2 checks passed. Okay, we will see that in some time. And then I didn't kept any kind of alarms. That is CloudWatch alarms. You can add that, but currently I didn't kept. Let it be the default. And availability zone, by default, it has selected one availability zone, because when we are configuring the network, if you remember, I did not selected the subnet. If you have selected the subnet, by default, AWS will launch the instance in that specific subnet. Since we have not selected, AWS has decided to launch the instance in this particular availability zone. And for every instance, you will have the public DNS and the private IP address also you'll be getting. Elastic IP, currently I did not do anything. IPv6 also we did not attach. Monitoring is currently disabled. Security group name, you can see launch wizard. And what is the key pair name? Kastro-demo. And when I have launched that instance, at what date and at what time. So these are the different details of the instance that we have launched. So make sure if you want to connect to the EC2 instance, the instance state should be in the running state. Okay, only when the instance is in the running state, then only we can successfully connect to the instance. Without the instance is in the running state, it's not possible to connect to the instance. Okay, make sure of it. And then the status check, you can see 2x2 checks passed. So there will be 2 checks that should get passed. So once after these 2 checks gets passed, you can now connect successfully to the instance. So by default, these 2 checks will always get passed. So there won't be any problem. So since we are using the default VPC network, there won't be any problem. Right. And then the instance state is in the running state. Now we are good to go and connect to the EC2 instance. Now, in order to connect to the EC2 instance, what we have to do is, the first thing that we have to verify is whether instance is in the running state or not. Right. Once the instance is in the running state, then what we will do is, for every instance that we are going to create, we are going to get a public IP address. Okay, we are going to get a public IP address. So how will you get the public IP address? First, let's say I want to connect to this instance called Kastro-demo. So what you have to do is just to select that instance. Once you select that instance, all these options like details, status and alarms, monitoring, security, all these options will show down. If you don't select the instance, the options will not show down. So make sure to select the instance and then come to the details section. You can see details. In the details, you can see the public IPv4 address. For every instance, 2 IP addresses will be there. One is called as a public IP address and the second one is called as private IP address. So currently we don't have to use the private IP address. So let us connect to the EC2 instance using public IP address. Okay. So if you give this instance to anybody, then anybody can access the data that is available, which is there inside the instance. Okay, currently we did not keep any data inside the instance. So we have just launched a blank instance. So let me keep the data by connecting to the EC2 instance. So in order to connect to the EC2 instance, we are going to use the public IP address. So copy the public IP address by clicking on this icon so that the public IP address will get copied. And then we have to use a software which is known as a MOBA Extem. So since I have already downloaded that MOBA Extem software, you can see the MOBA Extem software icon also is available here. But let me show you how to download this particular software, which is known as MOBA Extem software. Right. So just go to the browser. In the browser, just open a new tab and type MOBA Extem download. So MOBA Extem download for Windows. If you are using Mac, also you can work with the same thing. So click on MOBA Extem, the very first option, which is for download option. And then here you have to download the MOBA Extem software. Okay, here we have to download the MOBA Extem software. So you can download either portable edition or installer edition. That's completely up to you. So make sure to download the MOBA Extem software and also to install the software. Okay, make sure to download and install. Once you download and install, the MOBA Extem software will be available. Now you are good to go and connect to the instance. So firstly, in order to connect to the instance, I have downloaded the MOBA Extem software and I have installed also. And then I am going to copy the public IP address of the instance. Once after copying the public IP address of the instance, I will go and open the MOBA Extem software. So let me open the MOBA Extem software from my Windows system. So currently you can see the MOBA Extem software has been downloaded and it is installed. Once after it is installed successfully, if you open the MOBA Extem software, this is how the console of or the user interface of MOBA Extem will look like. So now in order to connect to the EC2 instance, what we will do is first click on session. You can see an option called session on the top right side, top left side. So session, click on that. Once you click on that, you will see an option called session settings. And then you can see an option called SSH, which is called as a secure socket host or secure shell. Anything you can call it, secure socket host or secure shell. So click on this option. And here it is asking the remote host name. So what does it mean by remote host? For our instance, we have got the public IP address, right? So that public IP address we have to paste. So I'm just pasting the public IP address of my instance. So this is the public IP address of my instance. And then if you want, you can specify a username. Otherwise, it's not recommended also. It's completely up to us. However, we are going to see how to specify the username in some time. And then click on advanced SSH settings. And here you can see use private key. So select this option, make sure to check this box, use private key. Only then this file icon, whatever you see in the blue color, that will get enabled. So click on that icon and then select the key pair file, whatever you have downloaded. So this is the key pair file that I have downloaded. So it is there in my downloads folder. So select that key pair file and then click on open and then click on OK. Once you click that, the instance will be able to connect to the instance. So let me repeat the same step one more time so that it will have a more clarity to you. So I'm just canceling it now. So once after you open the MOBA Extem software, you are going to get the user interface of MOBA Extem as something like this. So firstly, click on session here. You can see an option called session. So click on session and then you can see an option called SSH. So click on SSH. In the place of a remote host, we have to paste the public IP address of the instance. Remember, it should be a public IP address, not the private IP address. And then click on advanced SSH settings, click on use private key, and then click on this file icon. Only when you select this use private key, then only the file icon will get enabled. If you don't uncheck this one, then the file icon will not be enabled. So make sure to check the use private key option and then click on this file icon, select the key pair file that is available, and then click on OK. Once you click OK, just give accept. Now it is asking to log in as. So what is the username for our Linux instances? So all the Linux instances will have the login ID as EC2-user. This is the default username that will be available, which is used in order to log into the instance. So just enter EC2-user without any capital letters, just give as it is. And then click enter. Once you click enter, you will see the instance has got connected. I mean, we have connected to the instance. If you see this bird icon, that means you have successfully connected to the instance. Now, once after connecting to the instance, you can see this is the IP address of the instance. Let me clear the screen. So in order to clear the screen, we have a command which is known as a clear command. Just type clear so that the screen will get cleared. Right. So this is how we can connect to the EC2 instance. Now what I want to do is, let's say I want to keep some data inside the instance. So in order to keep the data inside the instance, what we will do is, first we will install an Apache server. It's a web server. We will just install the Apache web server, and then we will be able to keep the data inside that Apache web server, where anybody on the internet will be able to see the data, provided if we have given the public IP address of the instance. So in order to install the Apache server, and in order to install the HTML page and write the content inside the HTML page, I am going to follow a set of commands. When you are practicing also, please follow the same set of commands so that you will be able to follow up the video. So the first command in order to install the Apache server is, first we need to become a root user. So in order to become a root user, the command which we use is sudo -i. So this is the command we will use in order to switch to root user. So why we need to switch to root user? Because whenever you want to install any softwares in the EC2 instances, or in the Linux based EC2 instances, or for that matter, any types of EC2 instances, we need to first switch to the root user. So that is the reason why I'm switching to the root user first. So just click enter. Now you can see earlier I was the EC2 user. Now I have become the root user. Now, when you are the root user, we can install any kind of software. So firstly, what I am going to do is, I am going to install a software which is known as Apache server. So for that, we will install HTTPD software. So the command to install the HTTPD software is yum space install space HTTPD-y. So yum is the package manager in the Linux. Install is used to install which package? HTTPD package. So that's where just click enter so that the HTTPD package will get installed. You can see the step-by-step process of installation, and you can see the installation is also completed, and we can also see the HTTPD software has got installed successfully. Right. So now what we will do is, let me clear the screen first. Once after clearing the screen, the first step what I have done, first I have switched to the root user, and then I have installed the HTTPD server. Okay, I have installed the HTTPD server. So in order to start the HTTPD server, we have to work with the public IP address of the instance. So how will we work? So currently, let me copy the public IP address of the instance, and let me access whether I can access the HTTPD server or not, or Apache server or not. So for that, what we have to do, we have the public IP address of the instance. So by using that public IP address, we will see what happens. So let me go to the AWS console and let me watch that. You can see I'm there in the EC2 service. So copy the public IP address of the instance, go to a new tab. In the new tab, just place the public IP address of the instance. Okay, just paste it, that's done. And then click enter. Once you click enter, you will see the infinite loading is happening. Along with that, you will also see after some time, this site can't be reached. You will be seeing that in some time, this site can't be reached. What is the reason for that? So the first thing is, our instance is in the running state. You can see the instance is in the running state. And we have successfully installed the HTTPD software also, or Apache server in our instance. But when I am trying to connect to the instance, okay, when I'm trying to connect to the instance, I am unable to see the HTTPD service. Okay, I'm unable to see the HTTPD service. You can see this site can't be reached. So how we will be able to access the HTTPD server or HTTPD homepage? So for that, what we have to do is, we have to open one traffic that's called as port number 22 and port number 80. By default, we will have a port number for our instance that's called as 22 port number. Let me show you that. So go to the instances, and here you can see there is an option called security in the bottom. First, select the instance, go to security here. So click on that. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can see an option called security groups. Okay, you can see an option called security groups. So this is the security group that we have created, Launch Wizard 2. I hope you remember that. So click on that link, and it will take you to the security groups homepage. Okay, this is the security groups homepage. Now here what we will do is, we need to have one additionally inbound rule. We need to add that rule. So currently you can see by default, there will be one inbound rule that is called as port number 22. Okay, this is the default port number that is used in order to connect to the instance. But apart from connecting to the instance, I want to access the data that is available in the instance. Okay, I want to access the data that is available in the instance, but I cannot be able to access now. So in order to provide the access, or in order to provide the public access of the data that we are going to keep in the EC2 instance, what we will do is we will open a new inbound rule that's called as port number 80. Okay, that is called as port number 80. So how will you add a new inbound rule? You can see an option called edit inbound rules. So click on that edit inbound rules. And then here we need to add a new rule. You can see a default rule is available. We are not going to disturb that rule, and don't try to delete this rule. So if you delete this one, you will be unable to connect to the instance. So make sure the SSH rule should be there by default whenever you want to connect to the instance. And then click on add rule. And here I'm going to select the type as a custom TCP, protocol also as TCP, and port range I'll be selecting as port number 80. Okay, I'm going to select the port range as port number 80. And then source, let me keep it as anywhere IPv4. So what does this mean? So custom, if you give, let's say I'll give custom here, and I will have to enter the IP address of any server or any laptop. Let's say for your laptop, the IP address is 123.31.38.96. For every systems, we will have an IP address. Currently, I have given a random IP address, so that's why it is showing CADR block is not specified. So here, when you specify an IP address, only for that IP address, the page will be accessible, or our data that we are going to keep in the instance will be accessible. So that's called as custom. And my IP, if you keep, what will happen is, this is my IP address. Okay, only for this IP address, I will be able to access the data. But what I want in real time, let's say you have launched a website. Do you keep your website open for only yourself? No. Do you keep your website only for specific people? That also we don't keep. So what we will keep, anywhere we will keep. Okay, no, anybody on the internet can access the data that is available in my instance. That is my whole intention. So you can select anywhere IPv4 or anywhere IPv6. These are just the versions of IP addresses, which we will see in the VPC concept. But currently, let me select anywhere IPv4. You can also select anywhere IPv6 also. There is no problem. So I'm just selecting anywhere IPv4 and then click on save rules. Once you click on save rules, what will happen is now two rules have got added. What is the default rule? The default rule is SSH type, which is having a port number 22. You can see that port number 22. The new rule that we have added is HTTP rule, and that is having a port number as 80. Now, when you allow port number 80, what will happen is whatever data that you are going to keep in the EC2 instance, that data will be accessible by public. Now you see, I will reload the page and you will be able to see the HTTPD server homepage. Okay, you'll be able to see the HTTPD server homepage. So by any chance, even after opening the port number 80, if you are not seeing it, the reason is we did not started the HTTPD server. So if you remember in the MobaXterm software, I have just installed the software. Okay, I have just installed the software of HTTPD. I have not started it. So what we have to do, we have to start the HTTPD server. So in order to start the HTTPD server, we have a command which is known as service HTTPD start. So let me go to the MobaXterm and then let me execute that command so that the server will get started. So to start the HTTPD server, we have a command which is known as service. So this is the command. So make sure to execute the same command, service HTTPD start. So click enter so that the HTTPD service will get started. So you can see service HTTPD start HTTPD service, failed to start HTTPD service. Let me recheck what is the problem here. The reason why it stopped is it is because I am currently the EC2 user. So let me switch to root user first, sudo -i. So I am currently root user. Now let me execute service HTTPD start. Now the service will get started. You can see the HTTPD service has got started. So make sure that you are in the EC2 instead of EC2 user, make sure you will be a root user. So when you are in the root user, just to start the HTTPD service by executing this command. Now go to the browser and reload the page where we are getting the error. Now what you will see is you will see the simple HTTPD Apache server homepage. Let me show you that. So currently we are in the page where we have got the error. So let me reload it. You will be able to see the test page of Apache. So can you see this one? Yes. But in real time, do we need to bother about this test pages? No, we want to keep our own data in the instances. So what I will do is I will go to the MobiXtem software. In the MobiXtem, I will create a simple HTTPD page. Okay, I'll create a simple HTTPD page. In that, I will write the content. And then whatever content that I am going to write in the HTTPD page, in the index.html page, the same content we will be able to see in the browser also. So let me go to the MobiXtem and do that activity. So firstly, what we have to do is we have to go to a directory, or we have to go to a path which is known as a cd space /var /www/html. This is the path that we have to go, where we are going to create the HTML page. So click enter, and then let us create a simple HTML page. So in order to create an HTML page, the command is vim index.html. So this is the name of the HTML page that I am creating. And this is the command that is used in order to create the page and to write the content inside the page. So just click enter. You will be in the index.html page. Now, whatever content that you want to see in your instance, or that you want to keep in your instance, you can keep the content here. But here directly you cannot type. What you have to do is, currently you are in the index.html page. So in order to type any content here, we have to go to the insert mode. Okay, we have to go to the insert mode. So in order to go to the insert mode, in your keyboard, there will be a character called I. Okay, there will be a character called I. So just press I character or I key in your keyboard so that you will go to the insert mode. Now, once I press I key, you will not be able to see index.html. You will be able to see insert. So let me press the I character in my keyboard. I just pressed it, and you can see it has changed it to insert. Now, let's say you want to keep some data. Let's say, hello, this is my test page. Okay, this is my test page. I'm just writing some content. And then you can also write, you can find the free AWS tutorials. Okay, free AWS tutorials on my YouTube. What is the name? Let's say I'll give some name, the YouTube channel as Learn with Kastro. So I'm just giving some content. You can write whatever content that you want. Once you feel you have written the content, what you should do is you should come out of this insert mode. So in order to come out of the insert mode, just press escape. In your keyboard, there will be an escape button. Press escape. Once you press escape, what you should do is you just type colon. You can see at the bottom of the screen, colon WQ. What does WQ represents is, W represents write, Q represents quit. So save and quit. That's what WQ represents. So click enter. That's done. So we have successfully created an HTTPD page that is called as index.html. Inside index.html page, I have written the content. So what is the content I have written inside index.html? So if you do cat command, cat is one command to see the content in a specific file. So click enter. I should be able to see these two lines when I reload the browser in the AWS. Okay, when I copied the public IP and when I pasted it, I'm seeing HTTPD home page, right? Or the test page. Now, when I reload, I should be able to see this content. First, hello, this is my test page, and you can find the free AWS tutorials on my YouTube, the channel name, Learn with Kastro. So let me go to the browser, and then let me reload the page and verify whether we will be able to see the content or not. So currently you can see I'm in the browser, and still we are able to see the test page only. So what we have to do is we have to reload the page. So just click on reload button. And now you can see, hello, this is my test page. You can find the free AWS tutorial on my YouTube channel, which is Learn with Kastro. Are we able to see this one? Yes. So how this is coming? Because we have allowed the port number 80. Now, let's say I will give my IP address of the instance to anybody. Okay, let's say I'll give the IP address of my instance. What is my public IP address? This one. If I give this IP address to anybody on the internet, they can just paste this IP address either in their mobile phones or in the laptops. They will be able to see the data that you are seeing here. The same data they will be able to see. But remember, they will be able to see this data till the time your instance is in the running state. Once I stop the instance, or once I terminate the instance, we will not be able to see the data. Remember that. So let me show you that also. Let's say I am just selecting the instance and I'm going to stop this instance. I'm not going to terminate it. But we will see what is the difference between stopping and terminating in the next session. So currently, I am just selecting the instance. I am going to go to the instance state, and you can see an option called stop instance. So just click on stop instance, and it will ask me to confirm. Click on stop. Once you click on stop, you can see the instance state will get changed. It will be changed to stopping. In some time, you will be able to see. Okay, it will be changed to stopping. Once the instance gets stopped, okay, once the instance gets stopped, what will happen is the public IP address of the instance will not be available. Okay, the public IP address of the instance will not be available. You can see the instance state. What is the instance state? Stopping. So just reload and wait for some time. You will see the instance state as stopped. Once the instance state is stopped, okay, once the instance state is stopped, you can see the instance state is stopped now. Can you see the public IP address of the instance? No, you can see there is nothing available, but private IP address will be available. Okay, public IP address only will not be available. Now, if you go to the home, if you go to this one, and if you reload, till the time you are not reloading, this content will be seen. But as soon as I reload, what will happen is the data inside the instance will not be shown. Let me show you that. Click on reload and wait for some time. You will see this site can't be reached. You will see that in some time. That means what is happening is you have stopped the instance. When the instance is stopped, the data available inside that instance will also not be able to access. We cannot access the data that is available in the instance. Can you see? This site can't be reached. So that is the reason why when you keep any data inside the instance, the servers should be keep on running 24/7 without any problem. So when the servers are running without any problem, then what will happen is the usage, the application usage will not face any trouble. Since I have stopped the instance, what is happening to my application? It's a simple index.html file. So what is happening for that? I will not be able to access. So this is how you can launch an EC2 instance, and you can connect it to the EC2 instance, and you can keep the data inside an instance. So to keep it in a nutshell, in this video, we have seen how to launch an EC2 instance, especially the Linux-based EC2 instance, and what are the different steps that are available in order to launch an EC2 instance. Once after launching the EC2 instance, how to connect to the EC2 instance. After connecting to the EC2 instance, how to install a simple Apache server, and how to access that server by allowing a traffic called port number 80. Once after starting the server, I have also shown you how to write a simple index.html page, and then we will be able to access the content that we kept in the index.html page. Remember, till the time the instance is in the running state, we will be able to access the data that is there inside the instance. Once the instance is stopped or once the instance is terminated, we will not be able to access the data. So this is all about this particular video. In the next video, we'll be talking about some other concepts in the EC2 service. Thank you.